Good morning. I'm Attorney Venn Johnson Law. Here, just want to give a shout out to my co-counsel, case that we filed on behalf of his family, Ben Crump, who is that you will be able to obtain through near perfect meeting in a few minutes. To my right, your left is Dorcas Lola, that's Patrick's mom. To my left, Peter Lyoya, Patrick's dad. Next to Peter is Israel Saku, good friend, pastor, and interpreter. And to our right, the ever-present Kent County Commissioner Robert Womack. And we'd like to thank all of these folks and the many others who were there for the family throughout this very difficult criminal trial. As everyone knows, the judge announced today and the jury confirmed when they were brought back into the courtroom that they were hung, which means that they could not agree in a 12-0 fashion on guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, nor could they agree on innocence or not guilty, if you will. And so what that means, it's a coin flip. And either way, this case obviously could be something entirely different if there's another jury. Prosecutor Becker has made some comments, and let me take just 1 minute here to give an amazing shout out on behalf of the family and the entire community that surrounds and loves the Lyoya family. Prosecutor Becker in this case did something that very few prosecutors have the guts to do in the United States today, let alone in West Michigan. And he saw what he perceived, and we agree 100% to be an injustice to such a degree by a police officer that he, as the main legal representative of Kent County, charged criminally former Officer Schurr with second-degree murder. And obviously, we agreed with those charges from the outset. We support Prosecutor Becker's decision to do so. And we encourage him, first of all, and thank him for he and his entire trial team. Angelica, victim's advocate that was there for the family, all of these court people, if you will, from Kent County surrounded the family with love and support like they do every day in our courthouse. And we appreciate that and want to thank them. Not only did he bring criminal charges, but he himself, the main prosecutor, tried the case. Highly unusual. And we appreciate all that. And in this regard, of course, the fact that this jury could not make a determination either way, on behalf of the family, we encourage Prosecutor Becker to remain alongside this family and to move forward with a retrial, because we believe that this officer should be brought to criminal justice, and we will certainly address the civil justice that we, Ben Crump and I and our team will be asking for as well. But I would like to move forward with any questions so that you can hear directly from the family in terms of their reaction, which is obviously highly disappointed, but again, encouraged from the standpoint of it was a not guilt. There was no finding of not guilty, which is so often the case. And one more thing, I want to give a shout out to the family of Tyree Nickel, the gentleman who was killed by 5 or 6 police officers in Memphis, Tennessee, who 3 of those officers were found not guilty just yesterday. So we believe that was a miscarriage of justice. And we, again, appreciate our prosecutor, Chris Becker, moving forward. And we appreciate the hard fight that the jurors who believed in criminal justice in this case, we thank them for what they tried to do for what we believe to be that supported by the evidence.
Then, question from Carter Landis. How painful has this been for the family, waiting and leaving justice into the hands of the jury, all for them to not deliver a verdict?
Israel, please.
Anauliza kuko swali na kia pale anasema haenjo maumivu. Tulere gani njo munasikia kusema mulingo ya panda 3 ans mupate justice mnafika kupwenye jiri haikukia kubapatia enye tulikuwa tunatafuta.
Kwa ngambo yangu mimi kama babake ya Patrick,
on my behalf, myself, like Patrick's father,
na familia yote,
and my entire family,
kwa kweli iko sawa, wanarudisha vidonda tena vinakuwa vipya.
it seemed like the reborn, we have a reborn of the wound and the image, how my son was killed. He came back again.
Kuona kwa muda huu wa miaka mitatu tunasubiria ukweli wa kesi ya Patrick ya kuuawa.
To see that all these 3 years where we have been waiting for this case to be settled, but Patrick was killed.
Tulikuwa tunajua kama tumefika mwisho wa kesi na tunajua kama kwa kweli mtu akiuawa kinyume na sheria na tunapaswa kupigana na kupata sheria, lakini tunaona kama sheria inaenda kuyumbishwa.
And then we came here, we were fighting, and we get to the end. We thought that we were getting to the close of this case and we were going to get the justice, but we came to realize that it was a hung jury. They could not come to the agreement to condemn this guy or to find him guilty.
Kwa kweli tumeumia sana moyoni mwetu, lakini naendelea kushukuru timu yote ya waavoka wangu wenyewe wanaendelea kutusaidia na waaktivisti wote wenyewe wanaendelea kutusapoti. Naendelea kuwashukuru na hatutachoka kamwe na kuendelea kupigana mpaka tupate justice ya Patrick.
But also I want to say that it hurt my family, my wife. We are bleeding, we are in pain. But I would like to thank all my legal team that have stood by me and my family have been fighting, and all the activists, all the members of the community who stood by us and fight and will continue to fight until when we get the true justice for Patrick.
Prosecutor wetu amepigana kabisa kwa hii kesi, ingawapo vitu vinaenda kuyumbishwa, lakini kwa kweli tunashukuru na lawyer wetu Johnson, wote kabisa na Womack kwa vita ambayo wamepigana mpaka kwa hii kipindi tumefika.
Yeah, Mr. Becker, the prosecutor, he fought, he did a good job till to the end to get a justice for my son, Patrick. Mr. Johnson, who has been with us from the beginning, Commissioner Womack, who have stood by us. I just want to say thank you to all of them for the fight that they have put in to get the justice for Patrick.
Lakini hatutachoka kamwe mpaka tupate justice ya Patrick.
We are not going to be tired until when we get the justice for Patrick. Thank you.
Ben, this one's for you. How does this impact your civil trial, and can you provide an update on timeline?
It doesn't affect the criminal trial or civil trial, at all. Currently, we're waiting since the United States Supreme Court denied certiorari. In other words, they're not taking this case like the Schurr defense team asked them to. The case is in essence going to be back in Judge Maloney's hands down in Kalamazoo at the United States District Court. And I anticipate we'll be meeting with Judge Maloney in the relative near future, where we'll be talking about deadlines that we have to meet, when we can take certain depositions and so forth. So I anticipate that we will be moving forward now without any further delays.
Question from Simon Shakat, WXYZ. What does it mean for you to see charges filed again in a new trial?
And that's Israel for Mama, please.
Okay, Mama, wanakuuliza mnataka kuona ye kama bafungule tena hii kesi, position yenu iko aje?
Sisi mimi kama vile mama,
myself as a mother,
sitochoka.
We are not going to be tired.
Nilikuwa sichoki mtoto wangu.
I didn't give up on my son.
Na sitochoka mpaka sheria ichukuliwe kwa ajili ya mtoto wangu.
And we are not going to be tired until when we find the justice for our son.
Then what does this outcome suggest about the strength of the case or how it was presented, and will it impact any of your tactics on the civil side?
I think that by having a mistrial, it's somewhat of a mixed bag from a criminal law perspective. I am not a criminal law expert, so that's something that you folks can certainly reach out to those folks and talk about. However, what you know is this: you could not get 12-0, and remember the burden in a criminal case, y'all, is beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a huge, high burden. And what you find out is either way, you couldn't get 12 people to agree. So it's somewhere in between that. folks felt strongly about acquitting, meaning no, not guilty, and other folks felt very strongly about finding guilty. So in a situation like that, in police cases like this, that is often the case. One of the advantages of being a civil lawyer in a case like this, we're used to seeing that all the time. We have a lower burden of proof in the civil case. It's called by a preponderance of the evidence. Simply stated, if these are the scales of justice and they're even because the scales have nothing on it, having one marble, if you will, one pebble more on one side makes it more likely than not. That's all I have to prove. I personally think will prove far beyond that. But again, we do not have a beyond the reasonable doubt standard like they do in criminal law. So to me, as a civil lawyer, I think this shows that our civil case is extremely strong, and we will be moving forward with that belief. And we'll talk about as things materialize closer to trial.
There's a question for Patrick's parents. What do you say to the community who have been in your corner and calling for justice for Patrick?
Hii ni swali ya bazazi ya Patrick, kama pito tuna kujibia kusema se kitu gani ndio tena kusema kwa community yote yenye ilikuwa nashimama ngambo yako yenye biko wanatafuta justice juu ya Patrick.
No, kwa ngambo ya community ya timu yenyewe natafuta justice ya Patrick, naenda kuleta shukrani na kuwaelezea kama wasichoke, hata kama wanafanya hii mistrial, lakini wasichoke, waendelee kutusupport, tukue si wote kitu kimoja, na tunaamini ya kuwa tutapata justice tu juu ya kifo cha Patrick.
On behalf of myself and the family, I just want to say thank you to the community that has been fighting for the justice and seeking justice for Patrick. And I just want to ask them to don't give up, to don't get tired. We will keep fighting until when we get justice. We get justice for Patrick. I want to say just thank you so much for standing up with us for all these 3 years. Thank you.
And let me give you folks just a real brief overview of the next steps as we understand them. We, on behalf of the family. Prosecutor Becker has the discretion under the law, as many of you know, to decide whether he chooses to move forward with a second trial or not. That is his decision. He shared with the family today his initial thoughts. He did not make any recommendations either way. And he asked us, which is beyond reasonable for a lawyer that has fought as hard as he has, especially in a hard-fought case like this, for well over a week of trial. And on top of that, now 3 to 4 days of jury deliberations. He needs some time to kind of let things sift through and process. He will then be making his decision. And he informed us that he will be notifying the family of his decision. And then, of course, he will be making that decision public. So when that becomes public, we will, of course, meet with the family and make the family available again. So right now we're relative to the criminal case, we're sitting back and trying to give Prosecutor Becker some time and space to process and do his job. And then he will advise us as to his next steps. So we, along with, I'm sure many folks in the public, will be anxiously awaiting his decision. And again, from a civil standpoint, there's no reason to wait, and we are ready, willing, and able to move forward in the prosecution of our civil case. Commissioner, go ahead.
Next question from April Van Buren, Michigan Public Radio. We heard new information and testimony about both police training and the possession of the taser in this case. Does any of the new information in this case change how you'll move forward in the civil case? Is there a chance you'll try to pursue the case continue to try to pursue the case against the city of Grand Rapids?
April, none of this information is new to me. I've been talking about this taser information from about a week of our representation, since I am very familiar with this type of taser and what the taser report showed. I knew that the tasers both had been spent. The whole drive stun allegation is it's a joke, and we'll be exposing that in our civil case. We have very strong experts that will talk about this as well. These are separate and distinct experts from who Prosecutor Becker used. So this is not new. If you heard any of the comments by the criminal defense attorneys about officer created danger as to whether it belongs in a criminal case, Notice they picked the words in a criminal case. That's because the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, that is the controlling jurisdiction that we all live in down in Cincinnati, Ohio, has ruled for years and years of this thing called an officer-created danger. And what that means is, just like in this case, when Schurr created the danger, he never should have had his taser out when he deployed it. He violated his training when he deployed it, how he deployed it, failure to give a verbal warning, and having it so close to Patrick when he first took it out of his holster. All of these are violation not only of his training by the city of Grand Rapids, but also on the training of Axon, the company that makes the taser. And we will talk more about that. And when you create a danger by doing something against your training, you can't then turn around and blame Patrick. And that's what this case was. From the very beginning, they blamed Patrick for everything. Patrick, because he resisted under federal law, ladies and gentlemen, cannot have excessive, unreasonable, or deadly force used against him simply because he resisted. Folks don't understand that, and that is the law, has been the law. So none of this is new, and especially in a civil setting. Officer-created danger has been something that our circuit, the Sixth Circuit, has talked about for years. So this is not new, and we will be talking about that and utilizing that as part of our case here, the civil case.
Then I'll let you determine who this question can be posed to. Tessa Kresh from WLNS Lansing. What message do you want to send to the community, particularly other families impacted by police violence?
Well, number one, I want to again remind folks in the community that Prosecutor Becker stood up and did the right thing. And I think there are very few people in his position that would have done that. I respect that a great deal. Even though the jury did not convict, nor did they acquit in a case like this, in this case at least, again, he deserves full credit for standing up and doing the right thing. Relative to community violence, Commissioner Womack has done a great job and has been a voice of reason, and I would defer that to him.
I would just like to tell the city of Grand Rapids, the entire community, that our American justice system, even though there are still some flaws that we have attorneys working daily trying to fix, and hopefully more politicians, we still have an American justice system that gives families and defendants and opportunities to present their case. And I'm just thankful that this community chose to follow that direction, because burning up the community, the violence, none of that could have brought this family justice. And I think the family is closer to justice. We're going to continue to support them, and we need the community to support them in that peaceful way as we stand by the Lyoya family.
And I think it's important for the community and on both sides to understand there's a right to a jury trial. That happened here. The trial, Judge Mims did a great job, and her staff, very difficult, very high exposure case, did a phenomenal job. There was a fair trial here to both sides. The jury decided by not deciding, in essence. But again, you can't say there was no justice. The jury disagreed on what the evidence meant in terms of guilt or acquittal here. That is part of justice. So in terms of justice, although it may not be what the family and we believe the evidence supports, we respect that this is part of justice. And again, justice will be further defined in the criminal setting by Prosecutor Becker if he chooses to go forward. If he doesn't, that is his decision. And certainly justice will prevail, we believe, in the civil courts here in the upcoming next year to 2 years.
Question from Matthew Whitkos, Fox 17, Grand Rapids. To Patrick's parents, what went through their minds hearing Schurr's point of view during testimony?
Dorcas, please. Israel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mama Dorcas, hii swali ya chini wanauliza nani Schurr alikuwa na panel témoignage yake. Kitu gani njo lienda mu mafikiro yako? Ni nini njo alikuwa anajisikia sasa alikuwa na panel iko naenda kutemwanye pale mbele?
Yaani nimejisikia vibaya, tena vibaya sana. Kwa maana alivyoenda pale, mimi nilifikiria kitu cha kwanza chenye ataanza nacho labda ni samani.
I felt bad because very, very bad, because when he went there the first time, when he went to testify, my heart was bleeding. And the first thing I thought he would say coming from his mouth was going to say, I'm sorry to the family, to apologize for what he did wrong, but he didn't.
Lakini niliona kama vile ni mtu alikuwa hajali na alionyesha tu kama sasa vile hakuwa mwanadamu mwenzake, ni kama vile ameua kuku tu yenye haina mwenye nayo.
And it seemed like the way that he portrayed himself, it was like he had no remorse, he had no guilt, he didn't care that he took the life of a human being. It seemed like he only killed an animal. That's how he presented himself, because basically he did not show any emotion that he was wrong for what he did.
Peter?
Kwa ngambo yangu mimi, wakati nimemwona wanamweka ule muuaji Christopher Schurr pale mbele, kwa kweli nilikuwa najua kama ni binadamu na aliona amefanya makosa kuua mwingine binadamu. Nikawazia kama ataomba huruma kwa familia, lakini niliona hakujali na alikuwa kama ni mtu mwenye furaha, hakutingizika hata na kitu chochote kile.
On my behalf also, when I saw him coming from up front over there to testify, I thought as a human being that he will feel the remorse, he will feel the pain that we went through, and he could apologize. But no, he didn't care. And also he displayed like he was joyful, he was happy for what he did. So that was really painful to me and to my entire family.
Na uongo yote yenye ametumia, nimeenda kuleta shukurani, lakini najua kama Mungu atatusaidia. Najua kama anaendelea kubeba damu ya Patrick kwenye kichwa chake.
And all the lies that he portrayed over there, all the lie that he spewed over there, I just want him to know, I just want to say thank you to God, because God will give us the justice. But I want him to know that he's still carrying the blood of Patrick on him and is responsible for the blood of Patrick. Thank you.
Another question for the family from Michael Cranston, MLive. After today's verdict, are you concerned there won't be justice for Patrick even if the case is retried?
Peter, wanasema après decision ya jury leo, eske muko na shaka wasiwasi ya kusema se kama Patrick atapata justice hata kama bananzililie kesi mpya?
No, mimi siwezi kuwa na shaka kwa kuwa kwa kusema na amini kabisa mbele ya Mungu Patrick, juu ya kifo cha Patrick, najua kama mpaka mwisho tu tutaenda kupigana na tupate justice ya Patrick. Nina hiyo uaminifu kama tutapata justice tu, ingawa umeenda hivi.
I don't really worry a lot about this, because I do know that Patrick will get justice. As long that we are here, we will fight till to the end, and we will get justice for Patrick. We are not going to give up. We'll stand up and fight and believe in God that justice will be granted to us and to Patrick.
Thank you. Our last question today, directed to Ben. We know that you also represent the families of Samuel Sterling and Riley Doggett. Do you think these incidents are part of a larger systemic issue with law enforcement in West Michigan?
Do I think that? No, I know that. Proof is in the pudding. And what we have clearly is 3 different police agencies utilizing clear, excessive, and unreasonable, illegal, deadly force when it was not necessary under the circumstances. So yes, this is not a coincidence that all 3 of these things happened in a relatively short period of time. 2 of them, as you all know, in about a week, and certainly within a couple of years of each other. And it's something that we believe has to be dealt with directly, and that's the very reason why we're all here.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining today's press conference. This does conclude the press conference. Chelsea Hackathorn from Near Perfect Media will be sending out a recording of this press conference along with some other materials after the fact. Please reach out to Chelsea at nearperfectmedia.com for more information and requests. Thank you very much.
Record.